Shorts it for Cooper. Hits him in stride. Cooper stays in bounds for the touchdown. Wow. Formation. Elliott bangs through and scores.
Hey guys, what's going on? Space Cowboy here. Welcome back. Now today we have a controversial topic to talk about. It's Mr. Dak Prescott. Cowboys quarterback position is the most criticized position in all of sports. It's the most controversial to talk about. And he happens to be the one in the limelight. Now before I get started, and before I get dislike bombed or disagreement in the comments section for what I might say, I'm going to start out by saying this. Look, if you disagree with what I'm going to have to say, bring me some logical conclusions to why Dak Prescott shouldn't be paid. And in this entire video, I'm not making the case for why he should get paid. I'm going to try and find there to be a reason not to pay him. Okay? I'm going to look at everything that I can possibly find to determine whether or not Dak Prescott should not be, if he, why he shouldn't be paid. I'm going to look for that. I'm looking at statistics, accolades, everything, including the NFL market. I got to look at all these factors to determine what we should do. Because we can't franchise tag him. You have to make the decision on, do you want to keep the guy or do you want him to go? We have to make that decision. It has to be now or you let him go. So, look, if, I'm going to say my piece. You can say yours. I'm not expecting everyone to agree with me. If you're going to disagree, at least come with something decent. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm not here to please everybody. I'm just here to, present facts and go with that. So people say stats are for losers. Stats don't tell the whole story. So let's start with accolades and, wins and stuff like that. Because that's what really matters, right? So Dak Prescott, in his first year, went 13-3 after being selected in the 4th round by the Cowboys with a compensation pick nonetheless. He won the Rookie of the Year award. He is the, if I'm correct, the 4th Cowboy to do it. He is the first Cowboys quarterback to do it, and he is the next Rookie of the Year. The previous one was Emmitt Smith. So, good company there. Obviously a different position, but hey, a good award nonetheless. He went to a Pro Bowl, like I mentioned, 13-3 franchise record. Unfortunately, he lost in the playoffs, and, we can attribute that to any other reasons. Dak Prescott did throw an interception that could have changed the entire complexion of the game as the Cowboys were trying to come back. Luckily, he brought them back, and unfortunately, they just didn't have the ball last to win the game. Moving on to his second season, 9-7. Arguably, in my opinion, his worst season. There were games he didn't look good, and yes, I will admit that. Every quarterback goes through trials and tribulations. He definitely had a sophomore slump. But to stagger the Cowboys to 9-7 after losing your main guy in Ezekiel Elliott and the other situations that were there, nonetheless, he did his thing. But not good enough. I'll admit that. Next year, 10-6. It took an Amari Cooper trade to kind of put things back in gear. But he managed to get the job done, had a nice little rebound season, and he made the Pro Bowl. He did win his first playoff game in 2018. And that was against Seattle Seahawks, against Russell Wilson. And unfortunately, they lost the following week to the Los Angeles Rams. But he was, if you look at the eye test, because now I'm going to bring up the eye test thing. Because I know people bring that up. What the eye test told me in that game was Dak Prescott was the sole reason the Cowboys stayed in that game. Plain and simple. So, and then this year. 8-8, missed the playoffs again. Worst regular season record of Dak Prescott's career. Not losing, but mediocre. Okay. He didn't do well. He didn't do really well against winning teams. That's understandable. And yes, it's a team sport. But at the end of the day, if we're gonna sit here and if people are gonna tell me, well, Dak deserves all the blame. Okay, I'll be fair. And then if you don't want to give him the credit, I'll give him the credit. But yeah, overall, if we're looking at wins and losses and accolades, Dak Prescott, he has a Rookie of the Year. Cool. 2 Pro Bowls to his name. He's 40 and 24 as a starter, an average of 10 wins a season. Doesn't have a losing record yet, or doesn't have a losing record, but doesn't have a losing season yet. And he has a playoff win in his first 4 seasons. Now that's pretty good. Now, obviously, Patrick Mahomes, we just saw won a Super Bowl in very quick time in his 3rd season, but his 2nd year as a starter. Technically, if you want to include his 1st season, but nah, in 2 seasons in 1 game, he managed to win a Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes. So, and that's a very odd, it's a rarity that happens. So accolades-wise, Dak Prescott looks solid. Okay, so what is, has he proven his play on the field to justify such a call? So, Dak Prescott, as of right now, has completed 65.8% of his passes on 2,071 attempts. He has 97 passing touchdowns, 236 passing interceptions. Obviously, you got to pass the ball to get an interception. With a passer rating of 97. If he were to retire now, that would be the 4th highest or 5th highest. I know it's up there. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the number, but it's up there. So it's not like he's some scrub there. Also, in terms of yards per attempt, 7.77, or 7.6, excuse me. Pretty good. Now, in terms of rushing statistics, he's a dual threat quarterback. A lot of people saw that in college. On 241 rushing attempts, he has 1,221 rushing yards and 21 rushing touchdowns. That is the most in Cowboys history, and it does show how well Dak Prescott has done in terms of getting his team into the red zone. He might have taken it himself, but he is very productive. He has accounted for a lot of points in terms of both passing and rushing. Now, when I say that, people will be like, well, Dak Prescott should be doing more. And I would agree with you. Yeah, obviously, Dak Prescott should be doing a lot better. Because if you're going to justify the contract, there are some peripherals that need to be met. But here's the thing, right? Dak Prescott has not had a season where he's thrown less than 20 touchdowns. Okay? He has not had a season where he's thrown more than 15 interceptions. The most he's thrown is in 13 in his rookie campaign. And when you look at these statistics and compare him to other quarterbacks, he looks he looks solid, above average, average at best, top 15 nonetheless, okay? Now, the question is, if we're just talking about Dak Prescott alone, in terms of what he's done, statistically speaking, during this first year under contract, has he earned a new deal? I would say yes. Looking at his statistics, now we have to compare him to his contemporaries. Now, obviously, people will say, look, Dak Prescott's not good as the other people that he was, in that draft class with, like Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, etc. But when you take a look at, when you compare them, Dak Prescott has a better completion percentage, has a better yardage, rushing and passing. He's tied with Wentz for most passing touchdowns. Interceptions-wise, he is actually second of the bunch with 36 interceptions. Goff has the most with 42. He's tied with Jared Goff for yards per attempt and, leads them in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. I also threw in Jacoby Brissett for that matter, since he was in the same draft class and he did get paid. Interestingly enough, obviously Dak Prescott's not better. I don't even need to hold the suspense there. When you compare all of them, I also should mention this about Dak before I go any further. He has not missed a game. The only issue we've had is something with his shoulder. Yeah, he had a couple nagging things throughout his career, but the shoulder one was the biggest one. But that was it. So, now, you might be saying, oh, playoffs is what matters. Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl. Carson Wentz, he had a much better season in 2017. Okay, let's take a look at their playoff totals. Jared Goff is 2-2 in the playoffs. Dak Prescott's 1-2 in the playoffs. Carson Wentz, now, I don't think it's fair to count this loss on him because he only played a couple minutes. But for the sake of argument, let's do it. He's 0-1. Dak Prescott does not have the most yardage. That goes to Jared Goff. He has the most touchdowns, passing-wise, with 5, and the most rushing touchdowns with 2. He's tied with Goff for most interceptions with 2. And interestingly enough, Carson Wentz only has completed one pass for 3 yards in his playoff career. Jared Goff has completed 55% of his passes, while Dak Prescott completed 64.1% of his passes. So when you look at the accolades and the statistics and all this other stuff, now we got to talk. Now, he's on par with his contemporaries. Now, the question is how much should he get paid? There's a rumor floating that Dak wanted $40 million. Now, from what I'm getting at, he's probably going to look at, he's trying to get between $34 to $36 million. I'm just keeping the numbers high. Well, hell, 37. Now, the question is that because you got to understand, Wentz, Goff, and Brissett all got paid before, Dak has. Obviously, we know that. Now, how does it measure in terms of the production and in terms of all this other stuff? Now, comparing them to 2019, Dak Prescott got paid $2 million, Wentz $8.39 million, Goff got paid $10.63 million, and Brissett got paid $8.53 million. If we look at the new contract averages, Wentz has $33 million, Goff has $32 million, Brissett has $26 million. All those are averages. Okay. Now, I decided to also look at 2020 because I wanted to see how much they're getting paid right now. Jared Goff's getting paid $36 million. It is as a cap hit. Ben Roethlisberger $33, Kirk and Russell Wilson $31, and Jimmy Garoppolo $26.8. Okay. Now, you might say, well, Space, Dak Prescott's never been to a Super Bowl. Well, Space, Dak Prescott's not as good as these other guys. Well, let's see. Ben Roethlisberger, when you got, obviously it's hard to compare him to other quarterbacks that have been in the league longer because obviously they have better accolades and also they're more experienced. Okay. But for the sake of argument, yeah, obviously, yes, Ben Roethlisberger is more accomplished than Dak. So is Russell Wilson. Kirk Cousins, I would argue no. Jimmy Garoppolo, no, I would argue no, because he got his money after 5 games. Yeah, he went to the Super Bowl, but look how that ended. What has Jared Goff proven? Now, you might be saying, because I want to just make sure I'm good on time, which I am, because I don't care how long this takes. You might say, well, Space, look, I'm not paying Dak this much money. Let's franchise tag and let him prove it again this year. Here's the problem with that. If you franchise tag Dak, he's not going to partake in anything from what we're hearing. I'm going off of reports, plain and simple. If Dak doesn't partake in it, now let's say hypothetically, Dak Prescott decides to play on the franchise tag. He does decent enough to earn another contract, but people are still like, nah, he hasn't done enough. Let's let him go. Now, let's say the Cowboys do let him go after playing him on a franchise tag. You just screwed yourself over. Because Dak Prescott is not going to tank for nothing. What I think will probably happen, Dallas will go 9-7, 10-6. They'll get into the playoffs next year. That's my projection. Not expecting a Super Bowl or anything. But then you're ending up with a pick in the 20s, and you're going to have to trade up to get a guy if you really wanted a quarterback. And that would be stupid. If you really want to move on from Dak, you hate... excuse me. If you really don't want Dak to be the quarterback, and the Cowboys feel this way, McCarthy doesn't want him. Let's just throw all that out there. You need to let him go now. Just waste the season and get Trevor Lawrence when he comes out. If you really want to go that route, why would you keep him another year just to go replace him? That's stupid. Plain and simple. If you're going to get a quarterback, either do it this year or just mess it up next year to go get one. You see how stupid that sounds? Like, why would you do that? But anyways, with all that being set aside, looking at all this evidence, look, Dak Prescott has performed on par or better than his contemporaries. So he has an argument to be paid as much as Goff, Wentz, and Brissett. You can't be like, well, Dak only is worth $25 million. If that's the case, then what the hell is Jared Goff and Carson Wentz worth? Seriously. You know, I mean, Dak Prescott has also the intangibles that we mentioned, stuff that you can't measure. Oh, well, Space, he doesn't have the it factor. He doesn't pass the eye test. All this other stuff, right? I could say the same thing about Jared Goff. Jared Goff didn't wow me. There have been times, yes, he has. But, there have been times where I'm like, nah, he doesn't pass my eye test. Same thing with Jacoby Brissett. Same thing with Carson Wentz. It's happened. Same thing with Dak Prescott. There have been times where I'm like, what the hell's going on? But the fact of the matter is, if the Cowboys want to move on from him, they have to decide this now. They can, I think, based off of the evidence, there isn't any to say Dak has not earned a new contract. He's done everything so far to prove that he's done enough to earn one. There's no evidence that I could find that says he hasn't earned a new contract. If you look at other players, you look at his contemporaries, all this other stuff, there is enough evidence to say that Dak Prescott has earned a new contract. There is literally no evidence other than, make-believe things such as, like made up stuff to, oh, he's just average. What the hell does that mean? If that's the case, then also Carson Wentz, Jared Goff are average, but they're getting paid top-level money, And yeah, people will be like, well, we want a quarterback like Mahomes. A quarterback like Mahomes comes around once in a generation. You're not going to get a Mahomes. Odds are you're just going to get another Dak Prescott, or at best, you're going to probably get, I don't know, I don't even think you can get another, Carson Wentz or something of that caliber, to be honest with you. So, if I'm the Cowboys, this is what I'm doing. You give Dak his new deal. I think that he's earned a new deal. People will be like, Space, how much money are you going to pay? Look, you got to pay him either... Listen, if he wants 35, I don't give a damn. You pay him. Because guess what? The longer you wait, the more the price tag goes up. Mahomes' deal will be coming up. He's going to get 40. Deshaun Watson, he's going to at least get 37, 40. All you're doing is shooting yourself in the foot. So, get your quarterback set so we don't have to worry about this nonsense that happens every freaking year now. And let's move on our way. So, I think I've done enough. Take what I said, with what you want. I'm just putting together what I have compiled and just saying the facts. I'm not going to sit here and push some thought because I feel a certain way. No. If there is evidence that suggests that Dak isn't worth a deal, I'll probably be the first one to say it, because I've always said don't go into salary cap. You don't want to do this nonsense. But okay. I'm going to just leave it there. Just take it with what you want. So, with that being said, guys, feel free to drop a like if you enjoyed it. If you didn't, okay. Feel free to comment. If you don't like what I said, or something I said, put it in the comments section. I'll feel free to read it as long as it, as long as it is something that is, contextual. I'm not saying I'm not gonna ignore everything, but make it, a good argument. I want to see good arguments that say Dak Prescott shouldn't be paid. And, with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys. Bye-bye.
I used to live in Sin Cities like Bruce Willis, but I'm Jackie Chan, karate chopping, I'm still kicking. I used to be chopped and screwed, I'm Lil flipping. Now I'm nice, Mike Jordan, so who's pimping? I'm running man, you the running man, you still slipping. I hit records, you swinging, it's still